Hey guys, and welcome back. Well, remember the laugh track, the neon sweaters, that Winslow living room we all secretly wish we could walk into? For 8 iconic seasons, Darius McCrary was Eddie Winslow, the cool big brother who always somehow got the girl and still managed to learn a valuable lesson by the final scene. Now, fast forward to October 2025. That very same actor is sitting in a San Diego jail, held without bail, flagged as a fugitive from Michigan, and staring down yet another felony charge. It's the same face, but two wildly different universes. How do you slide from being a primetime hero, a household name, to finding yourself in handcuffs at the border? Stick around because the timeline here is messier than any of Urkel's inventions ever got. Now, Darius was barely 14 when Family Matters premiered back in 1989. Cast as the lovable, sometimes endearingly goofy Eddie, he quickly became the big brother a generation tuned in to watch every single Friday night. Now, by the season 2, his face was everywhere on lunchboxes, t-shirts, and he even snagged a brief recording contract riding high on the sitcom's massive success. The money was steady, the fame felt incredibly safe, and the writers protected the Winslow kids the way most 90s shows shielded their young stars with warm hugs, catchy catchphrases, and a clear moral delivered in 22 minutes flat. Now, Offset, though the teenage McCrary was already spending like the good times would literally never end. We're talking sports cars, expensive jewelry, and a whole entourage from Detroit who saw him as their golden ticket out. Now, friends from that era often said he never really learned to balance a checkbook. Accountants handled the paperwork. His parents were supposed to handle the discipline, and the studio managed his public image. When the show finally wrapped up in 1998, those safety nets vanished overnight, leaving him to navigate a very different reality. Now, child actors often talk about hitting the cliff, that jarring moment when the red carpet stops rolling out and you suddenly realize you're still running, but there's nowhere left to go. For Darius, the moment arrived fast. Consistent, high-profile roles dried up quickly after a couple of short-lived sitcoms that barely made a B clip. So he leaned into voiceover work and club appearance, trying to keep the momentum going. The money was certainly smaller, a fraction of his Family Matters days, but his established lifestyle was. Now, in 2001, he married his first wife, Juliet, but the couple divorced just 2 years later in persistent whispers of severe financial strain. Now, by 2009, he was deep in tax debt, owing over $200,000 to the IRS, and his sprawling Detroit mansion went into foreclosure. Yet, through it all, fans continued to root for him. Every time he popped up, whether it was a guest spot on The Young and the Restless, a role in anger management, or even a small part in one of the Transformers reboot, people saw flashes of that familiar Eddie charm and desperately hoped he'd finally found stability. Now, behind the scenes, however, overdue child support letters were already beginning to pile up, foreshadowing deeper troubles. Now, court records paint a clear picture. McCrary was first arrested for failure to pay child support in 2015. The amount owed then was relatively modest, around $16,000. Now, he promised a payment plan, did a few interviews about second chances and turning his life around, and the story quietly faded from the headlines. Fast forward to 2019. Now, he divorced Tammy Bronner, a former Harlem Globetrotter, and was ordered to pay $1,366 a month plus arrears toward their daughter, Zoe. Now, by 2023, that balance had ballooned dramatically, surpassing $52,000, which inevitably led to another arrest, this time in California. Now, each time he'd pay partial payments and the warrant would be temporarily lifted. But each time he missed a crucial court check-in, a new warrant would be issued, starting and restarting the whole stressful cycle. Now, it's a relentless treadmill thousands of non-custodial parents face, struggling to keep up with mounting debts and legal obligations. But most of them aren't crossing the border with a felony file waiting for them. And that, unfortunately, brings us right up to October 5th, 2025. Now, according to the San Diego Sheriff's Department, McCrary was riding as a passenger in a vehicle that was stopped at the bustling San Ysidro checkpoint. Now, what seemed like a routine stop quickly escalated. Then a warrant check flagged a felony from Michigan for failure to appear on his ongoing child support cases. Now, under California Penal Code 1551, this immediately classified him as a fugitive, leading to his swift transfer to county jail. His representative has since insisted that he was actually engaged in charity work, specifically building homes for the homeless in Tijuana, and had every intention of re-entering the U.S. legally. Now, whether it was genuine charity or simply a matter of convenience, the timing certainly doesn't do him any favors. He had already skipped a crucial Michigan hearing back in August, and the court had issued a final felony bench warrant on September 12th. Now, his next California hearing is set for October 15th, where the pivotal decision regarding his extradition back to Michigan will be made. Now, if he chooses to fight it, he could remain in custody for many months. If he accepts, he faces up to 4 years suspended, though that largely depends on how much of that hefty $52,000 he can manage to produce. Now, there was abuse allegations. Now, money, however, is only one piece of this complex and troubling puzzle. In 2017, Tammy Bronner successfully obtained a restraining order after accusing Darius of disturbing physical abuse toward both her and their toddler daughter. Now, court filings described a series of harrowing incidents that allegedly included yanking the child's arm until the elbow partially dislocated, a painful injury pediatricians called nursemaid elbow. Now, in another incredible, disturbing claim, she alleged she held their baby over a pot of boiling water during a heated argument. Now, Darius has vehemently denied both accusations, but despite his denial, a judge still ordered him to complete alcohol and drug classes in addition to a 52-week batter's intervention program. Now, consequently, his visit with Zoe became strictly supervised. Supporters are quick to argue that he was never criminally charged for these claims, suggesting a lack of definitive proof. Now, critics, however, counter the family court standards are inherently lower because the primary goal is protection from the vulnerable, not necessarily a criminal conviction. Either way, the details allegations within the restraining order cemented a much darker, more serious public image that no amount of sitcom reboots or nostalgic appearance could easily fix. Now, plenty of 90s stars stumble financially. It's almost a rite of passage for some, but only a handful ever ended up officially labeled as fugitives. So what made Darius' situation different, pushing him further down this path? First, there was the sheer, repetitive nature of warrants, a constant cat and mouse game with the legal system. Second, the chilling parallel abuse allegation transformed what little fan sympathy remained into deep skepticism and concern. Thirdly, and perhaps most critically, there's an entertainment industry that offers shockingly few parachutes for black actors once they age out of those coveted heart-throbbing roles. Now, agents quickly stopped calling, and even what they did, the contracts invariably included morality clauses that his growing legal baggage simply couldn't clear. Now, he tried his hand at music again, dropping a few R&B singles under the name D-Mac, but streaming numbers were modest at best, failing to reignite his career. Now, even recent Family Matters cast reunion panels conspicuously left him out the promo posters, reportedly due to insurance concerns directly tied to his outstanding warrants. Now, in essence, Hollywood didn't cause his spiral, but it certainly did throw him a rope, either leaving him to fall further. Now, unsurprisingly, social media response to his latest arrest has split pretty cleanly into three distinct camps. Now, there's the nostalgia crew, the tough love contingent, and then, of course, the flat-out jokesters. Now, comments under TMZ's arrest article range wildly from "Free Eddie, we all make mistakes," to the more pragmatic "pay for your kids, bro," to a flurry of memes featuring the Steve Urkel yelling, "Got any cheese?" and counting. Now, these jokes, while sometimes funny, sting because they remind fans just how linked McCrary is to a character who, unlike him, always learned his lesson by the episode end. Meanwhile, father rights groups have seized on the story to point fingers at the child support system itself, arguing that high interest rates and automatic license suspension can unfairly trap non-custodial parents in an impossible cycle of debt. Now, others, conversely, insist the accountability matters above all else, regardless of the circumstances. Now, both discussions keep his name trending, but trending, as we all know, doesn't pay $52,000 plus interest. Now, if you're finding this timeline as wild and unpredictable as the Winslow's living room often was, go ahead and hit that like button and consider subscribing, please. I regularly cover other stars who, for various reasons, fall from grace. Some manage to bounce back. Some, unfortunately, don't. And your support truly helps keeping these important stories visible. Now, what happens next? Now, Michigan prosecutors have signaled a surprising willingness to reduce the felony charge to a misdemeanor if Darius pay his outstanding balance in full before extradition. Now, coming up with $52,000 while sitting in a San Diego jail cell is predictably an incredibly tough act, but family members could potentially post the funds on his behalf. If he can't, He'll likely be transferred to Michigan within a matter of weeks, where state law allows judges to impose jail time roughly equal to the arrears divided by 90, which in this case works out to approximately 578 days. Yeah, do your math. However, most first-time felony non-support systems are typically suspended, contingent on the defendant maintaining steady payments moving forward. Add to that the batter's intervention classes he still hasn't finished, and he's looking at a lengthy period of probation stretching well into 2027. All of that, of course, assumes no new violations, which is a significant gamble for someone already officially labeled a flight risk. Now, lessons from this fall. Darius McCrary's story is, in many ways, a cautionary cocktail, a heady mix of early fame, a glaring lack of financial literacy training, a deeply troubling undercurrent of alleged violence, and a court system that, after years sensational of patience, finally ran out of it. It's tempting, almost too easy, to reduce his ordeal to a simple punchline or a sensational headline. But the broader, more profound takeaway is just how quickly stability can erode when child support debts compounds faster than any acting check ever could. For celebrities, the problem scales exponentially. Bigger incomes often lead to bigger support orders and ultimately bigger, more public crashes. For regular viewers, the message is far simpler and perhaps more actionable. If you find yourself in over your head, request a modification to your support order before it ever reaches the warrant stage. Because once you're officially flagged as a fugitive, even noble charity work at the border can't shield you from the consequences. Now, the conclusion. The same charming grin that once sold cereal and adorned Teen Beat posters is now starkly displayed on a sheriff's website. A sobering piece of proof that nostalgia simply can't outrun responsibility indefinitely. Whether Darius McCrary ultimately finds a way to pay what he owes, to heal from his past, and truly to a parent remains a deeply open question. Maybe Michigan will offer him the same kind of second chances he's been promising fans for years, or maybe tragically, the next headline will simply be another arrest. Whatever happens next, we'll certainly be watching, and we'll continue telling these complex human stories. Now, drop a comment below. Do you think the system genuinely helps parents stay accountable, or does it perhaps inadvertently set some of them up to fail? Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. What y'all think? Well, that's it for me. Thank you so very much for watching my video. I hope that you will like, share, and subscribe to my channel. And as always, in parting, be blessed, y'all.